Welcome to Disruptor Confessions. I'm your host, John Ayers. You know, most disruptions have given us time. The plow, the assembly line, the factories, even the computers. We had time to adapt. We had years to understand what they are and how to use them. Our guest today says that this kind of disruption, AI, and the pace we're seeing, that this time is different. It's a takeoff. She calls it's like a rocket. And the question that she's asking is not about whether the machines can keep up. It's whether we can. Can we as human beings keep up? Dr. Martha Boeckenfeld spent a career at the top of the finance industry. She's actually a board director at Generality, and she's created an immersive space called the Marthaverse. To me, she's one of the clearest voices on the human side of the disruption that we're all experiencing. Her whole thing is making the technology tangible, taking the fear out of it. And she's asking the question underneath all of the noise. Who do we want to be on the other side of all of this? And to me, that's the conversation I want to have with her. Martha, with that, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot. It's wonderful to be here today, and I'm super excited to talk to you about the topics which are very, very close to my heart.
Well, fantastic. Well, first of all, where do we find you? Where are you based?
I'm based in Switzerland. It's very hot here now without air condition. At a beautiful lake. We have tons of lakes, very clear air, a lot of nature, and lots of innovation, and lots of very nice people.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're recording this in mid-July. There's a lot of heat in a lot of the part of the United States as well as Europe. So I completely understand. I was thinking about this conversation, Martha, and I was realizing we don't know each other, but we've had similar career paths in that we both have worked in business for decades. We've been around large organizations, corporations, and the business world for a long period of time, and we've seen changes, both you and I individually in our own careers. And I think we also have landed on this disruption that we're experiencing in a similar place, that there's a lot of promise. There's a lot of opportunity and optimism around it. And we're trying to balance that optimism with the real risk, the fear, the concern. And I was thinking about that and why I was so excited about having you on the call today and on the podcast was you just have a great perspective. You've seen it from a lot of different angles. I was thinking, how should we start? I wanted to ask you what you're seeing today in the middle of 2026. The volume of information we're getting from AI, from large language models, whatever model people might be using, the volume of information is really intersecting with knowledge work. And we've seen the term AI slop now become work slop. So I wanted to start there. What are we seeing in information growth, and what are we seeing in, I would call it the degradation of knowledge in human beings? So let's start there. I'd love to get your take on that.
Yeah, I love research, and I think always data and facts are the best to start with. So you mentioned the word which is coined by the Harvard Business Review, work slop. And we also have let's start with work slop first. So it's just that people generate with AI, and I think we all have to plead guilty. We get something, we put it through the beautiful magic AI. It produces presentation, outline, whatever. And then we send it to the person who has asked us for advice or just an email. We don't curate because we think I couldn't bother. It's all so beautiful what AI did. So I sent my AI generated to the other person who then also my beautiful presentation of 50 slides in a worst case scenario, what we see in corporates. And they review it. And they come back again with an AI-generated response. So result of that is just the transfer between AI-generated. And when you go deeper, you will find that there is no knowledge transfer at all, because you haven't put in your own experience. You haven't done a judgmental call. Is it right? Is that wrong? Do I want to say it? Which angle? There is no context. It's just between the parties. And that happens quite a lot now in companies. And as I said, I think every one of us has to plead guilty in one way or the other, to be honest. And when you find out that actually no value is generated, and often there's stuff in there which you would have never said, which you never wanted like this, and this is called work slop. And according to the HBR, this is increasing, unfortunately. The other study, which I find very interesting, which had like almost went viral from the MIT brain studies, when you use AI, it makes you stupid. Yeah. This is, in my perspective, a wrong study because it's how you use AI. And that's why I find it so important that we focus on education. And we don't just focus on, you go to a company. Normally the question is from executive leadership when they ask me, which tool, where should we start first? And you don't start with the people. You should start, okay, what do we want to do with AI? What should the result be? Yes. But what does it mean for the people? You don't get the people on board if you can't tell them what their future is, because that's what you mentioned. Everyone is fearful. I will lose my job. And I think it's scary. I saw a recent interview with the Citadel CEO, big finance company, as you know. And he said, oh, we have all this finance specialists, like also in a way me, over 10 years studying, PhD, beautiful experience of over 20 years. And now AI comes. And then you ask AI and you get a fairly good result in research and other parts. And then you really think, oh my God, you feel like competition. And am I gone? What is my new role? And this is, in my view, what leadership in companies, in particular C-level, has to answer.
What's interesting about this, though, a year ago, we didn't see it at this pace, this volume of AI slop becoming work slop. We saw hints of it, right?
It's very easy. Microsoft is one of the biggest providers in companies. I mean, I've used Microsoft all my life, in quotes, as soon as it was available. You probably have used it as an executive. Microsoft Teams, so Copilot, everything. So people are trained on, you can use it for presentation, for short minutes and so on, but there is no framework which covers the human side of it. So really to put the answers to how you use it so that you still have a human connection, interaction, how you use it that your experience goes into it. That's the missing link, because the tech companies teach tech. They don't teach the human behind it, the impact. They don't teach that it's not in their, I would almost say, DNA.
Well, we're going to get into durable skills, judgment, curiosity, taste. I want to talk about that because I think that's the other side of this conversation. But I want to just kind of push on this a little bit. So more information than we can even digest, but knowledge, our actual knowledge, retention of information decreasing because we're kind of offloading this cognitive offloading that we talk about. But it's not just happening in business. People, I think, are doing it in their own personal lives. They can't even draft an email to a friend or a text. I think they're using it in daily life. So how do you see this, if you futurecast 2, 5, 10 years from now, and maybe it's getting into robotics, how do you see this playing out if we're already offloading our cognitive challenged work?
I think we should be smarter as humans, because you have a part of the knowledge which I will sit somewhere here, yeah, which is very basic, and that's not a differentiator from AI. And you should never think about competing with AI, because on certain tasks we won't. But if we take ourselves, and that's why also I'm a big believer in philosophy and how that you need to have more philosophy training and education starting already at school. If you think about the old philosophers and what Socrates, Plato, what they came up with, they really were on the meta level. And what AI helps us to do to get on this meta level, that means our cognitive intelligence gets stronger even and higher than what we can do today. And what I also find really beautiful is how you can connect the different science, art, finance with AI, because you can bring people who have been working in silos together. This is something we couldn't do before. And even scientists, doctors who all have their specific knowledge. We have these examples where one doctor had one result, another doctor had
Right.
another result. They didn't figure out what the patient had. So
Right.
one woman put all this together in ChatGPT 2 years ago, and ChatGPT came up with, oh, this could be X, Y, that, because you bring people together. So we should think about how can we get this connection of knowledge with AI. So I think we will be stronger because we get like superhumans, and we
Yep.
have
Yep.
a super intelligence. If we think about the ant, unfortunately, the ants have the big queen. So I had a post recently where I was talking about we are like ants
Yeah.
colonies, because we can all work together. Everyone has a role, different knowledge. And then someone wrote, "Who's the queen?"
Right.
And
Right.
I had, yeah. And in my view, there is no queen, because I'm thinking about decentralized networks, which we can now do with blockchain technology. So it all comes together, all these technologies, in a very nice way, if we drive it this way.
That actually is a great segue. I wanted to ask you about something I've seen you talk about and write about, the big convergence of the technologies. And I know some of our listeners are deeply immersed in blockchain or AI, but I often talk about our podcast being for the rest of us, the 80%, not the extreme who are super immersed in technology, but for the vast majority in the middle who are trying to make sense of it for their lives, for their work. But you talk about the convergence of AI and blockchain and even robotics, precision medicine. You actually point to something, the ARC Big Ideas Map. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, can you help us understand what the Big Ideas Map is and why it resonates with you and maybe our listeners?
Yeah, so ARC Big Ideas is a report from ARC Investment. They do that for a couple of years now. And that started to talk about the big convergence of technology, so that we can't see technology in isolation, and AI is at the core. So if we think our brain is heavily connected with all our body parts. It's in a way similar described, with lots of nodes, and AI is in the middle. And depending on which nodes you trigger, you bring them all together. And I have a very practical example for this myself. So I did recently the brain scan, which means I got a digital twin of my brain. Why I did do this? Because I wanted to find out if I have Alzheimer or cancer. It's where friends have this, family, etc. So I really wanted to know, and I got a really nice collaboration with a startup who has developed a platform, and they work with different specialists. And those specialists do then the MRI, and they can use AI. And with quite some accuracy, you can see from your digital twin if you have cancer or Alzheimer, according to certain patterns. Yeah. And I thought, okay, I really want to do it. But I also have to say, days before, and also a lot of discussion with my husband, he said, oh, when you do it and you find out what are you going to do. So there's also certain fear in this, like, this is new technology, and what does it mean for me if I find out? Do I want to find out? And I'm of the view, yes, I want to find out, because it gives me time to plan, to change things, to organize my life. And interesting enough, after 72 hours, I had on my mobile phone, I had the result. But
So
also
wait a
there,
second. So just
yeah,
to recap, you had a digital twin brain scan
yeah, and of
to
my whole body, including the brain scan. So I went into
to,
MRE,
to
so into
screen for
this,
cancer, Alzheimer's
yeah,
functionalities that might be present. And in 72 hours, you literally had like results on your phone.
yes, yes, I had a full report. And what they told me before is that I get the results, but obviously a lot of people, there was also, the results were not just here is your brain scan. It was nicely clustered, and here's what you should do. And there was a subsequent meeting with the expert. So the expert then explains to you in more depth. Unfortunately, no signs of Alzheimer or cancer were indicated. But at the same time, with that digital scan, I also did a blood test, genetic markers. I did also check, they checked osteoporosis. They also did a mama MRE. So really full everything. And it was beautiful because I did not only have everything in a report for me to read, I also had the real person and the specialist I can talk to, I can ask questions. And this is a startup. And the next step they do, so they work with all the specialists. And then what they do now is they want to help you to change your daily habits. So the first one is nutrition. So when you have something more like me, I don't have a heart problem, but I always, I'm getting very excited. Yes, but also my heart is, is something I need to watch. I know that because my father also died of a heart attack when he was young, and it looks like for my condition, I need to be careful that I don't have high blood pressure, which I had 10 years ago, and I managed to, through nutrition, exercise, and also living a bit differently, to manage this. And I think it's very, very important. Just imagine, and this I think is what the beauty and opportunity is. You were talking about jumping ahead a bit. It would be absolutely fantastic if everyone could get this. And a lot of people reacted when I posted this, obviously, where can I get it and how can I do it? And you can get it in different places, even in the US, but the problem is the price. It costs
So
you thousands.
do you want to mention the company that you worked with, this startup?
Yeah, it's in Switzerland, and people can DM me. Yeah? That's probably easier. It's called Aeon Life. Not Aeon Life, it's called Aeon. Aeon Life is an insurance company.
Yeah.
But people can just DM me.
And this
So
is very leading edge capabilities, because as you said, it's currently expensive. It's not for the masses, but projecting forward, it seems logical this would be ultimately where we're headed, right?
yeah, I mean, if you look at all the technology we have, and we have also the wearable. So if you look at the wearable market uh, and what they are trying to create, everyone is basically like, there's one is called Womb, or Open AIs into it. Amazon, we know Apple, they're all into the health market. Health market, I mean, from a market perspective, is one of the biggest in trillions. And what AI does, if we think about the drug development, the digital twin is one core, and all the development, it works like an accelerator to the flywheel. Coming back to your question on convergence,
Yes.
why is this happening now? Is only because we have this convergence of technology, because I can use MRI, AI, and all this technology then with digital identity. I can be safe on blockchain. I can have my own data. This was never happening before. We don't have only a single technology. We have basically a lot of different streams in technology developing at what I call rockets, not only AI, and they're all connected. Even if I drive a Tesla, I work with AI, I work with robotics. If I use Netflix, Spotify, the usual example, I have AI, for
Well, I like the
years.
visual reference you mentioned, like the human brain is part of
Yes,
the body, with our hands and our feet and our legs and our emotions,
yes,
and AI kind of replicating the brain as the center, the control tower, if you will, the central
yeah.
control of the convergence of these other capabilities. And you even said in your own diagnosis that it wasn't just AI generated. You actually were talking to human beings as part of the process.
And this I find is the most important, that we really focus on. I mean, if I just get something on my mobile phone, that would be a disaster, right? Because there are always pieces in there which, like, what is this here?
What does this
Even,
mean? Yeah.
yeah, what I did, obviously, I put this into an AI agent. who knows also the rest. I have regular blood tests and so on, said, what does that really mean for me? And then I compared notes with what the specialist told me. It was really good to have the specialist also giving a more holistic, rounded picture. But what you need to have is really also good specialists. We have seen that AI diagnosis is better than human diagnosis in the stats. But it's also always what you compare it with, because not every doctor is on the best level.
Right.
And
Right.
and also, in all fairness, I have doctors in my family. If you are a specialist, you can't have the knowledge of the other specialists. And that's why
Right.
I find AI is so beautiful, because all of a sudden you have all the research, you can break up this knowledge silos. And you can even, for me, the most interesting is if you are like Leonardo da Vinci. You are into art, science, and he was one of the biggest innovators. If
He
we
almost
remember
ended up.
again his this painting and how this all relates. So now we know my size is very easy. My arm's length is my size. So if I want to go somewhere, measure something, it's Leonardo da Vinci applied
Right.
simply. With I do that always with the kids.
I love it.
But but this is really for me this polymath. And you ask, where should we go? Yes, let's be all polymath, because we can do it. We can have knowledge we never had before. The only thing we need is this mindset on what you said, the curiosity. What means curiosity? Ask questions all the time.
Mm.
Learn. And this is something very new. People who love learning like me and are educated in a way, I always learned. And for me, this is a given, even though sometimes it's hard. This is just how I have been brought up. But for others, you need to make sure they understand it never stops now. It doesn't stop. There is no break.
Do you have
So
a
if people,
concern about that? That older generations, I think about Gen Z, 20 somethings coming out of the university who have great skills, but they're basically coming into the work world, or even younger who are coming into the work world in an AI enabled environment where they have context of information, but they don't have those, what I often call like domain expertise. They don't have 20 years as a financial expert or a physician or doctor, someone who might work in certain industry with domain expertise. Do you have concern about that for generations coming into this space, that they're going to lose some of those skills?
yeah, I think there are two facets of this. You have seen that, that students even decline AI. I mean, they're now say
Yes.
it's, oh,
Yes.
I don't want to do it. It's just no, it's not what I want, because they don't realize what I think is the true potential, because it's not just using ChatGPT to cheat in an exam. And I've seen, I think there are several, as I said, several facets. I also did a training for parents and kids recently. We did a free masterclass, and it was kids from 12 to 16, 17. And
Mm-hmm.
the gap is very wide. So
How?
parents don't,
Yeah.
I mean, first, between the kids, some are into it, some are not interested. So what we were trying to train them in basically half a day is, how do you learn with AI? So for example, use Notebook LM. With in school, still the material is messy. Yeah, you get PDFs and your colleague writes something, your friend, and you haven't watched it. Maybe you were not there or not mentally there because you wanted to do something different. If you use Notebook, you can use external, but you can also put the whole curriculum, everything in there. And then the parents, some parents knew how to train and help and coach
Wow.
their kids, and some others not. And that's where I see the big problem. It already doesn't start at university. So if the parents, if, for example, my niece is 10 now, if I can't give her guidance how to use AI because I don't use it myself, and you just let the kids play Roblox, other plays, other games, Minecraft, which I find are great games if you don't do it don't do too much, because they all help you to understand how different worlds come together. We are lost. We are totally lost. It's a real, that's for me the real threat. This knowledge discrepancy and not to know how, and people who are totally saying, I don't want this, fear, staying behind. And then you have the few who get it all and who do it. So we are creating a society where we basically have a two-tier society. This is not what we want.
Yeah, I almost think as you're describing just this recent experience with these younger students, I think about when print magazines came out, National Geographic, Life, Time, they opened up a lot of people's minds to other parts of the world that they may not have been aware of. And then radio, television, computer, the internet, we now have access to information. But I think to your point, how can you use that? How can you involve yourself in those abilities? And then to your point, making sure parents are involved as well, that they're not left behind and the kids are excelling or using these tools too much.
Yeah, and what I also think people underestimate how you can personalize. So we, for example, in the workshop we showed with, I have no contract with Notebook or with Google or whatever, but just as an example, we showed them, look, you can create a video even. That is the paid one if you have a paid version, but you can also create just a podcast with two people. You can interact with them. I mean, how beautiful this is. So I use that also. My niece, I had to apply for a position, and I said, you need to get more knowledge about this company. So I do a podcast for you with two people, and I did all the questions so that she could listen to it. And there were questions which I thought were important about the company, so that she had pre-interview knowledge for this company. And this is how you learn. This is not how, like, you fake, you sit on a Zoom call. And this is also the biggest challenge right now, when I'm talking to different board people and my own experience. When you interview people, they have, they have everything in front of them in terms of, I mean, you can change your face even and you don't know if the person is real. We had also this kind of cases, but it's very hard. Everything, the application is AI generated. When I sit here, I could look at something and answer all the questions with AI. Obviously, new sense, because I'm stumbling, so I don't have that, and I think it's very important that you don't. But it's very hard to get people to understand AI is helpful, but please be you. And if you don't know something, you don't know it. It doesn't. That's part of the growing up, and that's part of. If I would always hire someone by attitude, not by knowledge. My assessment was never an interview. I always asked them to come with me for lunch. Because when you have lunch with someone, you can see how they eat, what culture they have. I mean, what they eat is a different story, but I took them usually to places which are nice and mainly vegetarian options. So they had to bear with me, but they usually loved it, not only because of me. Nice environment, relaxed, and then they talk. They talk about their family, they talk reality. You find out what kind of attitude. Is it a team player? Is it a person who's honest, ask question? Is it just, if you do that on a camera, Zoom interview, or even is sitting in, I mean, Zoom, I think is the worst for interviews. A lot of companies are now saying, we want to see you in person, even if that means you come and fly in.
Yeah, no, it completely makes sense. We've talked about that on the show, that disconnect. We're losing some of that. We've talked. I mean, thanks for sharing your personal experience with the medical scan and using AI and the results within 72 hours. Super interesting. You've seen this kind of in other work where we're talking very specific about specific agents or specific capabilities within industry, whether it's finance or medical. You just talked about the study with some young students and how people are applying it, how you're using Notebook with students. I want to zoom out. I want to zoom way out. So when we think about industry, we think about a specific use case. What's happening at a bank, wealth management? How can they use AI? Or in medical industry, how can they use AI? So we're talking very specific. But I want to zoom out operationally and even organizationally. And I want to ask you around how should we be thinking about it? And the reason I want to ask is I think ChatGPT launched, November 4 years ago. So we've been in the new era of AI coming up on 4 years. Around 2025, we saw a lot of AI agents being deployed, Martha, but not a lot of return on the investment. A lot of pilots that were abandoned, they didn't see value. And I think we're seeing now in 2026, people are talking a lot about how to think about embedding AI into their lives, into their flow of work, into their company or a team structure. How, in your perspective, how should companies and teams start to roll out AI in a more efficient and I would say holistic manner?
Efficient and holistic. So, if I may, I would love to give a concrete example. I think you have to start, even though we zoom out, I think it's good to know how to actually do it. So we have to, with AI agents and also with AI, you have to have a very concrete use case. Yeah. As always, I think it's important that you not just abstract, okay, we use AI and it's all for efficiency, it's all for cutting costs. That is not the real value. And I think that's also where a lot of companies went wrong. Like Klarna, for example, they dismissed 700 people in customer service, and AI wasn't very good in customer service, so it was a disaster. Now we have Ford also had a huge dismissal of people. So we see all those cases. The opposite was IKEA, who had AI efficiency, but they looked at the people and said, we have to retrain the people. So they didn't dismiss anyone. They gave them new tasks. And that's always or very often the trick, just as one thing to bear in mind. And then the other thing is, if you have AI agents, I think, as you mentioned, how do we integrate them in our life? And we talked last time about, which I find really fascinating and I think will be the future, and where virtual worlds come to life. Give yourself an avatar and the agent an avatar. And this is what the partners I work with are working on. And unfortunately, I couldn't send you the simulation because it was done in Fable 5. Fable 5, as you know, was banned. And now, since yesterday, it's back. So
yes, I
the
just
other,
noticed it's back online. Yeah,
it's back online.
let me just interject. So Anthropic Fable 5 was released, brought back, and as we're recording this, it was just brought back online in July. Fable 5, the most current model from Anthropic. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry. Yeah, so this new model allows you to create a virtual world with you basically and the agents. So all of a sudden you start communicating. And Claude, the model from Anthropic, also only a couple of days ago, has given you the opportunity to integrate Claude into your Slack. Slack is a communication tool which banks usually don't use, but a lot of agencies use. What does it mean if all of a sudden the agent is not only I chat to a chatbot and say, can you help me? But the agent takes an active role. I can go around, I can see what the agent does because I can communicate with the agent and the agent gets context. That's in particular important when you do this on the Slack channel. It's very easy to do that on Slack. It's more difficult. That's why you need the latest model to do this in a virtual world. And I think this makes a huge difference when all of a sudden this becomes a real experience, not some abstract agent. I ask, can you do X, Y, Z, but I can work with. So it becomes almost a body, like when you do this with a humanoid robot, which is another scary maybe thing. But in virtual worlds, it's proven, and I've seen that also in all the metaverses I work with in my own one, your brain is very smart. So you don't even need a headset. when you go into virtual worlds with your computer, your brain thinks that it's you. So you have a certain self-awareness and you become your extended self. I had one neuroscientist on one of my talks in the Marthaverse, and he explained it very much more beautifully, like I do. But you basically have an extended self, so you think it's you. Your brain does that connection, which no one can imagine if you haven't been an avatar,
Right.
which
Right.
all the gamers, the 3 billion plus gamers know, because they are always someone else and they're always an avatar. All the gaming is 3 billion plus people already know that. It's only the rest of us who maybe not so much into gaming, and the banking executives who most of them I met have no experience with gaming.
Well, can you talk a little bit about the Marthaverse? First of all, I love the name. When did you create it? What is it? Help our listeners understand it. And how many people, like, give us a little bit of background on the Marthaverse, because I think that's what you're really touching on.
Yeah, so this is you are the first one. I talk now about what the current status of the Metaverse as virtual world is as a virtual world at the same time as my brand name. And why I say you are the first one, because the world I have is closing. So also as a person like me, when you're in innovation, the lesson you have to learn is things change and you get disrupted. So the platform I build it on allows you that you can go in by VR, you can go in by your mobile phone. I have done this with hundreds of people spontaneously in events. And what is happening there? I give an experience, and that's the most important. You learn within 2 minutes, you give your email, you get access, you can be in a virtual world. So yeah, fine. But the beauty, what people really appreciate, you can share knowledge there. So I had big collaborations there with neuroscientists, with artists. So we did a vernissage from an artist who wanted the paintings and the benefits of the paintings. I could lead them to the website through my Metaverse. He wanted to give that to elephants. So at the same time, we had someone from South Africa talking about the elephants, and we had 3D elephants. And when you touched the 3D elephant, you could become an elephant. So everyone all of a sudden was a little elephant. So this also sounds like fun, but this experience sticks with you because your brain immediately, okay, now I'm an elephant. I have a totally different feeling than as a human being. So you relate with that. That's that. It's not only
Very
about the elephants.
immersive. Very immersive.
Very immersive, even though you are in there with a computer. I mean, my husband was at the WEF. We also had exhibitions and had people just coming by, and here you can test it. And it was beautiful. And obviously,
Yeah.
I started when there was this kind of hype, and I started at the WEF, and it was amazing. 3 days of people from all over the world, and the people who couldn't come to the WEF also joined, and all the experts. So it was just also this, what I call this polymath feeling, where scientists, artists, and everyone contributes and shares, and also has a little bit of fun. So I always had at the end a little bit of music, my own DJs, and having fun together. Yeah, so learning, having fun. And as an adult, this is something very unusual. So when I say now this spatial is closing, the platform is closing, I will close my world, but I don't close the experiences. So you have to move on. This was chapter 1. So what is still there is I had 20,000 people having this beautiful experience. So there are now different options I look at. I can take it to another world, or I can also move on. I do a lot now in AI. I do a lot with avatars. We have talked about we can combine them with AI agents. So you do something different, but what sticks? All these people who were there are part of a big community, and they are still there. So the people don't go. The technology might go.
Evolving. It's evolving.
It's evolving, yeah. And it was a huge shock for me first, because I thought, how can they close down And spatial was big. I mean, spatial had all the big brand names, huge, yeah. And I was one of the creators, single creator. They had Vogue and other big names there. I was really, really tiny, but I would say I had experiences which were not gaming. And spatial now is very much into gaming. They offered gaming on um, on also I could have done more gaming, but I thought, no, I don't want, maybe I want to do it in the future, but now it's not, didn't feel right for me. My Metaverse was a copy. It looked like Bali, a bit. Also,
Yeah.
where I had my travels. My second home is Mallorca, so all the love and care, oceans, seagulls, very natural. That also surprised C-level executives because you sit
Sure.
with me in a beautiful lounge at the beach, and they are like, "Wow, this is beautiful. This is better than my office."
You tend to be, and I think the Marthaverse is a great example of that, but just your career path and where the way I'm hearing you, I think you lean more positive and optimistic than negative and pessimistic, or you're more excited about AI than worried about the risk. Would you agree?
I would agree, but that doesn't mean I don't see the risk. And I'm trying to work. A lot of people are fearful, and if I put more also in my presentations, I'm more on the positive side because doomsday I hear every day, and also we know bad news always travel fast, and
Right.
people somehow be attracted sometimes to bad news.
Yeah.
But what I also do with my social platform with LinkedIn, I really do good news every day. Uh, I also speak openly about what doesn't work. I speak about the governance, which we still need to. I mean, this is my biggest challenge, and that how do we get the governance? Yeah. So we talked about the rocket, and we have to talk about the governance gap. So technology is like boom, and institutions and governments and leaders
Mm.
are going this way. So when
Well,
you look
I
at this,
often,
oh
you
my
just
God,
nailed it. Yeah, I often think about how individuals, you and I, our listeners, are moving at 100 miles an hour. They're moving with the technology. Those that are adopting, they're adopting at a rapid rate. The companies, the business world is trying to keep up, but they're lagging behind the individual, you and I. And then when you have policy, government entity around like guardrails, that's even further behind, corporations and enterprise. So you do have kind of this laggard. Can I ask you, that actually brings to me a question that I have to talk about the pace and scale of this disruption we're experiencing, and actually was really the basis of why I launched the podcast, Disruptor Confessions. If we genuinely, as human beings, can't keep up with the pace that we're experiencing right now, what's your take? Do we have to, I mean, there's been a conversation about pausing where we're at. Do we have to slow the technology, or do we have to change how we expect to work with it?
in a sense, if I may say respectfully, is the wrong question. Because we can't slow down technology. You correctly highlight this. I mean, Elon Musk said, let's slow down 2 years ago, I believe. And then he came up with his own AI. Now, Anthropic says, let's slow down. Then a ban comes, and OpenAI already has the next one. So, can the government say slow down? Does it make sense? Or can we do something different? Can we say give people the time, not the technology, also the people the time to slow down, to adapt, and don't ask everyone. I mean, I'm not an AI expert, no one is an AI expert, because no one can be an AI expert. Yeah, so there are people who are very smart, much smarter than me, who know more. But I wouldn't consider there is no one out there, and that's why we need this collective intelligence. And let's take the time as human beings. We can decide this. We can decide,
Love that.
let's take the time to sit still.
I don't
And
know what
this
the
is beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know what the statistics are today, but it's roughly 1 billion people or more are using AI. They're using Gemini, OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Claude from Anthropic or others. If you were, let's go to tactical takeaways from you, Martha. I think a lot of our listeners, as I mentioned earlier, are in the 80%. They're not living and breathing this and sleeping everyday AI. And they're not on the far end where they just don't have this in their radar. Most people are in the middle somewhere. They feel it, they see it, they're trying to make sense of it. Let me ask you, what would you tell someone on Monday, those who are not really in AI right now, and they're interested and they're curious, what's one thing you would tell them to do starting next week on Monday morning?
Yeah, I would say you think about what really annoys you. So what is
Mm,
the most annoying part during your day you really want to get rid of? Then you go to any, I mean, there's a ChatGPT free version, there's a Claude version, there's a Google version. Don't look at any video or YouTube, or don't start hours and hours of learning because you get lost in translation. Just sign up for any of those free. And then you ask, I have this most annoying work to do. Can you help me to figure out how I can get rid of it? Or can you actually do it? And this way you start to interact. And this way it's a very easy start. And hopefully, yeah, for this most annoying task, which you definitely don't want to do, AI
can you
comes
and I
up and
work
helps
together?
you.
Can you and I work together and solve traffic? I live in Los Angeles, and that's something
Yeah,
I'm thinking we need to think about AI for traffic. No, I think that's a great approach. What is the problem? What's frustrating? What am I upset about? What is painful in my day, and how can AI maybe solve that?
this
I
is
love that.
also, I think, the beauty of it, because innovation, I mean, I've done a lot of innovation. What I always loved about it is you start with what's the job to be done.
Yes,
You
yes,
don't start, you remember, it's very, very basic change
yeah.
management, transformation, innovation. What's actually the job to be done? And then it becomes very easy and very concrete. So and I made the mistake as well. I mean, I was like, oh, I have subscribed to so many different AI tools, and I try this and try that, and I was in my bubble, and then for hours I was like, oh my god, and this
Yes.
and that, and I lost it completely, totally lost it. Until, yeah, it took me some time to realize this, and also fortunately I have a wonderful husband and a wonderful dog, so they remind me after a couple of hours being in my world to come back and get out and do something different. That's very, very important. And I also realized that, I mean, when you work, for example, when you are like me, a bit hyper and go into
Right.
different direction, how to focus is very important. You have to learn how to focus. So I use flow music. I use meditation, which I have not done before. I think you have to get more to this slowness, which we discussed before. Stand still, take the time. And what I find amazing also from brain research, when you do meditation, when you slow down, your brain gets more active, and they can show it. So a friend of mine did dark retreat. So there are in Poland, for example, buildings which are like monasteries, and
Mm.
they do dark retreats. Not only no digital, etc., but no light, no distraction, being with yourself, and you think, oh my God, how scary that is. But it actually shows that when you do this kind of things, you come clean. It's beautiful.
Well, you're actually touching on another question I had. This phrase of durable skills. Earlier, we were talking about Gen Z, 20 somethings at university are rebelling. They are rebelling against AI for fear that it's changing their future, their jobs. And I think one of the things I've heard you talk about, and I also have uh, kind of a lean towards this, and that is these durable skills, skills that are very human, curiosity, taste, judgment. How does someone build on those skills, knowing that AI is around us? How does someone build durable skills?
It's easy in a way because you have to think about how was I as a child. So
Mm,
because as a child we all have that. I mean, we have curiosity, we have courage, we want to do things, we take risk. And I find it the most enlightening one. Okay, you can think about how was I as a child as one thing, but then you have to actually do it. So come together with people who are totally different than you. Go for dancing classes. Go for something which interests you. I mean, not something which doesn't interest you. Go for cooking. Go for things which you really, really enjoy, because there you will find your old you. Who were you? Because you have fun. You love to be with people. People love to be with people, and we learn the most from people. That's still true. Just 2 days ago, I had this conversation with Dr. Ingrid, who's healthcare, quantum, a super brain. And I also said, how do we create this trust in medical and
yeah.
with patients? Because patients fear all this technology, the AI at your bedside and the digital twin, not the doctor anymore. And she said, it's not the doctor who tells the story the best. It's actually other patients who tell how they have been treated. Like me now, if I can talk about the digital twin of my brain, if I can talk about how I got through this journey, this is how I learn. So
Mm,
go to places which are different, which inspire
right.
you. So I always love to go to places where, like in London, I was part of the arts club and all my clients loved it. I mean, as a CEO of a bank, why are you at the arts club? Because I want to have this inspiration from the creative people, and it's infectious. So it gets you because people love people. People love beautiful things. Everyone is attracted to that.
I
Beautiful
love it.
food. Make it yourself, don't let a robot make your food. Do it with love and with care. I think that is really how you come back to yourself.
What you're talking about is finding flow in your world, and you actually reframe flow. And how do you find it in technology? And I'm curious, when you're talking to C-level, when you're talking to executives and leaders who feel like it's beyond work-life balance, what do you tell them on how they can find flow with AI technology in their day? How do you describe that to them?
I try to use kind of framework, human anchored, which I developed. So it's, as you say, they ask which technology I use, which YouTube videos. I said, forget all of this. You have three pieces, I think, which are important. I call it the three rings, which you have to use. The first one is the self. So think about who you are, what you want, what your purpose is, what you want to achieve. So the first thing I did with ChatGPT, where I was at Mind Valley, I did the first AI class I ever did. And Vision, he told us, which I thought, oh, this is very strange. Talk about your life manifesto. And he taught us how we can use the life manifesto with ChatGPT, not ChatGPT writing it, but helping me with the structure and everything. First time I wrote my life manifesto. Can you believe it? I mean, you think you should have done this earlier. So find yourself. Then the second one is society. Think about the human connection and what this means for society. What's the impact? So also related to the first one. And the third one is the system. So what is the governance? What are the systems, and not from a technical point of view? And this works actually pretty well for leadership. And that works pretty well from what I've seen also for how you implement AI, because it takes a different approach. It has everything in it. It has values, ethic, governance, responsibility, and it builds trust, which in my view is the most important.
I love that. And everybody comes at that from different perspectives and they probably weigh things differently. But I love those three anchors. Martha, before we wrap, there's a couple of things I want to ask you. And I often call this just rapid fire questions for you to just react to. Can I throw a couple quick questions? You can give me your quick answers.
Yeah, if I can, I will
All
try
right,
my
let's give it a
best.
shot. So this is always a tough one, but I try to ask our guests future predictions. So what I was thinking about you, because of your perspective across the business world and where you're at today in advising C-level, projecting forward, I would say, let's call it 5 years from now. Are people more afraid of AI or more comfortable with it?
More comfortable
Oh, I love that.
because they
Um,
have learned how to use it.
I love that. Thank you for that. Reversing aging in our lifetime, yes or no?
Yes. I had a recent panel I was on with an aging specialist, scientist, Aubrey Gray, and he said if we treat aging like, like a disease, we pull more, even more science to it, and we know that also the first now with Daniel Sinclair, he has developed something for mice to reverse aging, and now FDA approved the same for human beings, human trials. And you think, oh my
So,
goodness. And
so
we have to
20
think
years
about
from
it. I
now,
mean, this is a podcast in itself. I
20 years from now, you and I will have another podcast. We'll be in our 30s, and we can
yes,
we can kind of have a conversation much younger.
yeah, but we still have all the experience. I think my concern there is, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, I mean, I'm a big fan of science fiction. Time is Up. Justin
Mm,
Timberlake was in that science fiction. Again, the two tier of
yeah.
society. One people who have so people who have the time and they have they live forever, and the others don't have the time. So and the conflict this creates, this is just unbelievable. It's if people watch that, you really know what longevity can do on the bad side. But on the other side, again, we can develop as super intelligent. I mean, our cognitive power can be much, much more, not being cyborgs, but just developing
Yep.
how our brain develops. Right now, we have the problem. We are not yet that developed. Our genetic is still the same. Technology is much faster, and our biology is still the same. But if we pull all of this together, I mean, superpower, superhuman, in a very positive way. Sorry, it was
Next,
more extended than you
I
shot.
love it. Next question for you. Money as we know it, still the currency 10 years from now?
No. Why I say that? If you think about what we pay money for, we pay a lot of money for knowledge. So knowledge becomes abundant. If
Mm,
knowledge becomes abundant, then everything gets cheaper. And then a lot of it becomes no longer scarce sources. So the whole social contract, we also talked about it, social contract we have, this three parts of our career, how we live with, I mean, if we are over 100 already, it changes. But money is no longer the currency. What is a currency? Is, for example, health. You can't buy with money, even though people think, okay, I can
mm,
buy all the supplements and pills, but that's not really doing it for your health alone.
interesting. The metaverse, is it dead?
It depends on how you define the metaverse. So, like in my experience, like the metaverse now, the platform is dead and the hype is gone, but the experiences are there. And if you look at digital twin experience, avatar experience, if you look at Siemens and BMW, they have huge metaverses, industrial metaverses. So the whole BMW company is now from design to production, there is a digital twin. In
So
medical care, you have immersive worlds, digital twins, you have glasses where you can do sorry.
yeah. How you embrace what a metaverse becomes and the value for human beings.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not dead,
Yeah. Okay.
but the hype is dead. And the worlds maybe you have seen, like Horizon is
Yep. Yep.
gone, spatial is gone, but it's not what metaverse means, exactly what you said. The immersiveness, the avatars, the digital twins we can use. That's not that. The experience, we learn more.
I see. I see where it's going. I mean, I'm a little skeptical, but I do value these immersive experiences in specific domains. And I think that's where I could see a lot of value. Bigger risk. Is there a bigger risk in the technology itself, or is it more about the risk is in the equality of who has access to it? Which one?
Inequality,
Mm-hmm.
huge risk.
Let's get reflective. I know you touch on philosophical topics in your work. Well, we call this Disruptor Confessions. What's one confession that you can share with us today, Martha, that might be something of interest?
Yeah, I think, honestly speaking, I've already shared it. If you had asked me 3 years ago, I took also a huge step to create my Metaverse. Now it sounds all very easy, but it was a huge step for me. You know, that was the beginning also of, I left my executive career at UBS. I wasn't quite sure. I wanted to be in innovation. I wanted at that time already do Metaverse activity. So I started with a company to do Metaverse activities, and they built and created Metaverses. And I so much loved it to bring all these people together from different areas and different experiences that they recommended to me. Create your own Metaverse. And then I thought, you know, this is a big leap for me to create my own world. And then someone else said, Martha, come on, make your own Metaverse. So I kind of think that's how it all came up. I mean, people think, oh, big strategic thinking and whatever, but it's actually, you are together with other people. You maybe drink a glass of wine or not, or a nice
Right.
nice tea or whatever. You discuss, you have, and only because I had this experience with my partners at the time, and they created this world, that I have the courage, because the woman I was working with, she said, don't worry, tell me what you love and tell me how you imagine where you want to be. And I just copied Mallorca, Bali, all my experiences, sent her all the images with palm trees, with water, and she created it for me. But now, a couple of weeks ago, spatial closing down, end of July, dead. And I'm like, what? You know, they're
Yeah.
closing down. It was not only my world, but this
Yeah.
is like real disruption coming to you, which I hadn't seen. So I think this is important for people also. You don't see it coming, and it makes boom. And then you have to just sit back and think, okay, you know, they stole my verse, but they haven't stolen my connection. They haven't stolen the experience. They haven't stolen everything I have created. So what it comes back to is this 3 rings I said, self-society system. Go back to
Yeah.
this. Sit
Yeah.
back, slow down, take a deep breath, even though
Right.
it sounds sometimes very difficult. This is
I believe
true
in that. I think,
disruption.
yeah, I believe in that. Taking a breath, meditating, finding balance. The AI, the technology's here. You have to adopt and adapt. But finding humanity in it is great. And I think critically important. You actually lean more optimistic. I think we're hearing that in your voice, in your tone. But you also have some concerns. I think one of the things I'm curious about is what's genuinely possible, and if we get this right, and what is it going to require of us to get there? And you can take that wherever you want, but what is possible? What do we need to do to get us there?
What is possible? Very simple answer. If you are a science fiction lover like me, everyone has talked about it already. The good world, the bad world, the humanoid robots, the Terminators, the Star Treks. We have Transformers now translating languages. So everything is possible, what you can imagine. So it's important what you can imagine, what you want to imagine. So going back to my life manifesto, I can do that for myself, but I can also think about, what do we want society to be? Where do we want to go? And everyone, in my view, can have a contribution to that. Everyone. So in my view, it's our choice. And I'm really coming back more and more often, also in the circles I'm with in those communities. So on next Monday, I will go to United Nations. I've been invited we have a panel. We talk about children, cybersecurity, how do we raise children now? How do we protect them? There are already a couple of governance and examples. But through these conversations, and it's not network, it's community, it's exchanging views,
Hmm.
driving policies. So we're making proposals, and they're not just, maybe they're, it takes time, but we do it. So do it, take your time, think about what you want to achieve.
Last question for you. You did this scan, and you said you talked to your husband about it, and he said, well, wait a second. What if you find out information? And you said, well, no, that's why I wanted to. I want to know. But you faced, I would say that you faced kind of an unknown, and you entered that. And I think about that as a reference point. What did that teach you individually, that society, that our listeners might think about as we all face the unknown? What does that experience teach you that we can maybe glean to help us as we face the unknowns of tomorrow?
Fear, we all know, is never a good advisor.
Hmm.
And in my view, the more you know, the more you can take control. And the digital twin of my brain is obviously a very good example, because I know more about me, my body, and what to do and how to keep myself healthy. And that is for every aspect. That's why I'm also, from my childhood, my mother was so, and we talked about it, so you need to learn, you must learn. So she was very keen on that I study, that I don't give up, that I don't just do anything. But she said, you can do anything, but you need, your purpose must be clear, and you need to learn. You need to learn what's going on, and then you will be good. Yeah. So that's and I love learning. I love trying things. And part of this is also very important in my learning, is not only from the digital twin, like also with my Metaverse, with innovation, which I've done in banking and insurance. You need to try, and you will fail, but never fail to try. That's very important.
I appreciate that. Our podcast, we've taken a little hiatus over the last month, and I wanted to have you back to kind of kick us back into the second half of 2026, in great part because of what you shared today. This kind of broad spectrum. You mentioned you're going to the United Nations. You're talking to a lot of different C-level, but you're also working with some younger children. So you've just got a great perspective. Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you would want to share with our audience? Anything we missed today?
Oh, we covered a lot, to be honest with you, but I think we should always remember, and this is a kind of thread which goes through our whole conversation, that technology alone won't save us. We will save us and the planet.
Love that. Well, Martha, where can people find you? I know you're active on LinkedIn. Is that the best place? How should they learn about you?
Yeah, I failed, I have to admit, to have a landing page, as simple as it sounds. Can you imagine? I know I can do it with Claude, I can do it with Lovable, but I'm so deep into everything else that people can best find me on. I have a link tree, but go to LinkedIn is the best to see who I am, what I am. That's how you found me. So I think it's a good indication. And I have my own podcast, Edge of Tomorrow. So if people are interested, I can also provide the link to you. I talk to some amazing, smart people who are much smarter than me. And again, it's in the interest of me learning, but hopefully also sharing knowledge. What is ahead and how do we cope with it?
We will definitely link to the Edge of Tomorrow and your LinkedIn profile in our notes on this episode. Dr. Martha Boeckenfeld, just thank you so much for the conversation, for sharing with us your perspective, your observations over the years. It's been a joy to have you on the show.
It was wonderful that you have me, and I'm so glad that my computer didn't strike today, and that we're still here despite despite everything else in terms of the heat and whatever. But thanks a lot for sharing or allowing me to share my passion.
Wonderful, wonderful. And those of you who are watching and listening, thanks for joining us on Disruptor Confessions. As always, we encourage you to subscribe, follow, join us on Substack, and as always, stay curious. Till next time, thank you.